The PlayStation 5 Pro is now 6 months old in the market. It's starting to laugh a little bit and giggle whenever you juggle things in front of it. But it is PlayStation's mid-generation upgrade to the successful PlayStation 5, which you can't argue its success. Released in November 2024 with the promise of enhanced graphics, smoother performance, and a premium gaming experience. Priced at $700, it is the most expensive PlayStation console to date, but no longer the most expensive console in the market thanks to Xbox.
What the fuck?
It does spark some debates though about its value for both new players as well as existing PlayStation 5 owners. After extensive testing, including a lot of hands-on time with a variety of different PS5 Pro enhanced games, comparisons to the base PS5, and really analyzing its technical capabilities, this review is going to dive down into what the PS5 offers, both its strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately, as always, highlight who I think should buy and maybe who should not. So grab some Coke, maybe a Diet Coke, popcorn, sit back for the review of the PS5 Pro. Also, like and subscribe too, it really helps. Design and build. The PS5 Pro's design is a slight evolution of the original PS5 and the slimmer PS5 Digital Edition. It measures at 15.4 by 3.2 by 8.2 inches. That's height, width, and depth. So it is slightly smaller than the base PS5, but nearly identical in size to the PS5 Slim. The console does come with the PlayStation's white side panels that envelop a black central section with 3 horizontal black grooves that go across the faceplates. These grooves are not just for design. They also aid in cooling by providing space for the console's internal components to breathe. Now the PS5 Pro, it's much lighter than the original PS5, making it easier to fit within certain cabinets that you might want to put it in. However, the lack of an included vertical stand was up for high debate whenever you're charging $700 for a console. While it does come with the clear plastic feet for the horizontal placement, the optional $30 vertical stand, it just feels like an unnecessary extra cost. Charges $700, it came with the PS5, just put it in for the purchase. Also, the absence of a built-in Blu-ray disc drive was kind of an odd choice. I was scratching my head. For those with the physical game libraries, you have to pay an additional $80 for a disc drive, and it must be purchased separately, which now pushes the cost up to $780 for disc-based gamers. And if you want it to be a vertical stand disc-based gamer, you're now going to pay $810, which just include it. Now, that price does not include if you're trading in an existing PS5 or other console. I am solely speaking to new customers coming into the ecosystem. With trade-in, it's much less depending on the current trade-in deals that are going on. This decision to not include these things, it garnered huge criticism, mainly due to the requirement to register the disk drive online, which is a massive inconvenience to physical disc owners. This criticism came from both die-hard PlayStation people all the way across the board. I was even critical of it myself, and I love PlayStation. Port-wise, the PS5 Pro swaps out the front USB-A port for a second USB-C, bringing the total to 2 USB-C ports on the front, and then you have 2 USB-A ports on the back, alongside the Ethernet port and the HDMI 2.1 output. This PS5 Pro does include the Wi-Fi 7 capabilities as kind of a forward-thinking addition, but its benefits are pretty limited right now due to the compatibility of routers that are currently in the market. The console, it does run much quieter than the other consoles maybe that run a little bit louder. However, it does still have the stupid beep when you turn it on that is known to wake up every single girlfriend within a 2-mile radius of you who knows that you just turned on your PlayStation. I hope the PS6 does not have that on it. Please take it out, even though I'm single. It still needs to go. Overall, the PS5 Pro's design is sleek and functional, but the lack of the disc drive and stand, like I said, it feels like a misstep. Just include it. Give it to the players. Everything else about the design, though, I absolutely loved. Hardware upgrades. Probably the PS5 Pro's biggest selling point is its enhanced hardware. It's designed to deliver superior graphics and performance than any other console on the market. At its core, it is an upgraded GPU with 67% more compute units than the base PS5. It offers 16.7 teraflops of graphical compute power, which is a huge jump up from the original's 10.28 teraflops. The RAM does remain at 16 gigabytes of GDDR6, but it is 28% faster with an additional 2 gigabytes of DDR5 memory to its dedicated system resources. This allows it to free up more power for the games. Now, the problem is the CPU, it is identical to the base PS5, meaning frame rate improvements in CPU enhanced and bound games, it can still be pretty limited. But the GPU's boost, it does allow for significant graphical enhancements in supported titles, like we have seen with Assassin's Creed Shadows, Gran Turismo 7, God of War, and many others. Storage, another major upgrade. It comes with 2 terabytes of SSD, which is double the capacity of the PS5 Slims at 1 terabyte, and more than double the capacity of the original PS5's 825 gigabyte. This was awesome, especially consider some of these games nowadays should probably go on to show my 600-pound life because they are so massive. The PS5 Pro also introduces the PSSR, which stands for PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution, also called PISR. It's Sony's AI-driven upscaling technology, which is similar to NVIDIA's DLSS. The PISR allows games to render at lower resolutions, such as 720 or 1440p, but upscale it to 4K or even 8K with minimal visual compromises. It allows you to also maintain those high frame rates that we as gamers really want. This technology, it's actually a game changer for gamers, but also developers. It enables developers to really balance graphical fidelity with performance without forcing us as players to actually choose between the two. However, PSSR's benefits are limited to games specifically optimized for the PS5 Pro. It does now have over 100 titles that support it. Basically, if you go into the PlayStation Store, scroll all the way to the bottom, there is a PS5 Pro Enhanced section that will show you the games that are currently supported. There's a lot of them. Ray tracing capabilities have also been enhanced, with the PS5 Pro offering more realistic lighting, reflections, and shadows in supported games. This is very noticeable in games like Gran Turismo 7, where the car reflections and the environmental details, it just pops with clarity. The console does support 8K resolution in select titles, but honestly right now this feature is more kind of like a gimmick. Given the lack of 8K TVs in the market, it's very much in its infancy. Performance. Testing the PS5 Pro across a range of games, it does reveal its strengths and also some of its limitations. In PS5 Pro enhanced titles, the improvements are undeniable. You can't sit there and look at it unless maybe you need to go to the eye doctor. Spider-Man 2 in versatility mode, it delivers near 4K visuals with ray trace reflections, also having a stable 60 FPS, which is a massive improvement over the base PS5's performance mode. Final Fantasy Rebirth, it benefits from sharper textures, smoother combat. While you have games like Gran Turismo 7, it's a visual masterpiece to play. Even some of the older titles like the Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered, you see huge enhancements clarity thanks to the PSSR, with distant details like grass, trees, and even the structures appearing much more crisp than they do without it. The PS5 Pro's Game Boost feature also improves performance in non-enhanced PS5 games, as well as over 7,000 PS4 titles that offer better resolutions and more stable frame rates. For example, The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, it runs more smooth, though the lack of a PS5 Pro specific patch, it means that the improvements are not nearly as noticeable. However, they are still there. PS4 games benefit from this thing called a system level image quality enhancement toggle. That's a freaking mouthful. But it allows you to upscale dynamic resolution scaling, but I will say that the results do vary game to game. However, in order to see the best results of this console, you really need to have a high-end display, much like my 85-inch 4K Sony Bravia TV. On smaller or older TVs, the visual difference is a little bit harder to see, making the PS5 Pro's appeal niche to those who really have recent TVs or monitors. Yeah, I guess if you do sit close to a large, high-quality display, it will maximize the impact of PSSR and ray tracing. But more casual gamers playing on a 1080p or a lower 4K TV, you may not notice the massive difference that I see on my TV. When I play games on my TV that are PS5 Pro enhanced especially, I am literally blown away at what they have been able to do, and it is by far the strongest console on the market. Frame rates are another highlight to the Pro. The PS5 Pro consistently hits 60 FPS in performance mode for the enhanced titles, and even in fidelity mode, it often maintains 50 to 60 FPS with VRR support, reducing the need to sacrifice the visuals for smoothness. You take a game like Dragon's Dogma 2, which really struggled on the base PS5, it is much more playable on the Pro now. It's not perfect since the game is heavy CPU, but overall, it is a much better experience. I did see the overall performance improvements noticeable immediately whenever I fired up my PS5 Pro compared to whenever I played on the base PS5. So if you do have upgraded hardware such as a nice TV or monitor, yeah, you're going to see it. Software and features. The PS5 Pro runs the same UI as the base PS5, which remains the same old same, with some of the recent updates are actually pretty cool. The console supports all PS5 games, backward compatible PS4 titles, and it does also support PSVR 2. The setup is pretty straightforward, with options to transfer data over from an existing PS5 via a network connection, or you can do it by USB storage. The included DualSense controller, it's not changed, offers the same haptic feedback and adapted triggers that enhance immersion like in games like the Astro Bot as well as others. While the standard DualSense, by far my favorite controller, they could have bundled maybe a DualSense Edge in here, sweeten the deal a little bit, especially for people who are coming into the ecosystem for the first time. Now the PlayStation Store, it does remain a little bit of a mixed bag right now. Digital game prices are often higher than physical copies, and with them not including the disc drive, man, it's begun to really push gamers towards the digital purchase every single day. I will say though, I've been digital for a very long time, so with it not having the disc drive, it did not affect me, and it was not as big of an adjustment for me as it is for others who have invested heavily into physical media. So naturally, this did spark a huge concern about Sony pushing users toward a digital-only ecosystem, especially now that the disc drive was not included and was even scalped at inflated prices because there was limited availability. This is something that will probably be decided later down the road on how PlayStation is going to move forward with this new alternative to not including disc drives. Streaming apps like Netflix and YouTube, they are still supported, but the absence of Dolby Vision for media playback, kind of a missed opportunity to include. Remote play, it does feel slightly improved thanks to better resolution in the performance mode, as well as having that 2 terabyte storage. It makes it easier for us to be able to keep multiple games and not try to sit there and figure out what do I need to keep, what do I want to delete. It was just a nice breath of fresh air having more storage. Who should buy and who should not? At $700 or, $810 depending on what you want with it, the PS5 Pro, it could be a tough sell for some gamers. Compared to the base PS5 at $500 or even the slim digital version at $450, it is a significant investment for people, especially when you factor in the $80 disc drive and $30 stand, which gets you to that $810. For new buyers without a PS5, the Pro definitely offers the best console experience on the market right now. It has the 2 terabytes of storage, the Wi-Fi 7 capabilities, and it offers superior graphics for enhanced titles. However, I gotta say, the base PS5, it does remain a very capable machine delivering a great gaming experience as we've seen in its sales charts. For existing PS5 owners, I think the PS5 Pro is much easier to justify to buy, as you do get that trade-in value to bring down the price of entry. The Pro excels for players, like I said, with those high-end 4K or 8K displays, VRR-capable TVs or monitors, and those who really want to prioritize smooth 60 FPS gameplay with the ray tracing. Titles like Spider-Man 2, AC Shadows, and God of War Ragnarok, they do showcase the Pro's potential. Especially with more and more games coming out with the PS5 Pro enhancement tag on it, I think it makes the buying option much more viable for consumers. If you're content with 30 FPS fidelity mode, or maybe you don't notice those minor frame rate dips, the base PS5 is still more than adequate to play in fidelity mode. However, if you want to see those noticeable improvements, I definitely think the upgrade to the PS5 Pro is worth the money. If you're new to the ecosystem, you will need to look at your current setup before you go buy. You also need to look at your budget and then make that decision for yourself. For those who shouldn't buy, I would say if you have an older television, you may want to upgrade that before you actually go out and spend the money to get a PS5 Pro, especially if you want to see the difference. If you have an older TV, I think you're better off just keeping your PS5 or buying into the PS5 ecosystem at the base level until you're able to upgrade your TV. I don't want to tell you to go out and buy this Pro if you have an older TV because you may not notice the difference. So I personally feel the PS5 Pro, great buy. However, I'm also an enthusiast and I love the newest hardware when it comes to PlayStation. I also have a very strong television that supports the various options that the PS5 Pro makes available. So if you have a great TV and you can afford the price of entry, then yeah, I definitely think you should get the PS5 Pro because it is currently the best and most efficient console available on the market right now. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this PlayStation 5 Pro 6 months later review. Make sure to like the video and subscribe. As always, be cool to people.